There, I think we're good to go. Anyway, welcome to my studio. I've got some crib notes because I don't want to talk on and on, but you can hear me okay?
Yes.
Thumbs up?
Yeah.
Okay. So here we are in Southwest Virginia. My studio is between Catawba Mountain. This is Catawba Mountain here, which is currently to my left, and to my right is Fort Lewis Mountain. Traditionally, this is the land of the Tutelo, the Saponi, and the Monacan people. And I'm very honored to live in such a beautiful place. This is a log cabin. This is where we live. And this is my little studio here on the end. Wow. And in this picture here, this is the entrance to the log cabin. And my studio entrance is there. And then across the way is another building that we're currently renovating. So during the summer, my studio will be expanded into this spot in the outbuilding next door. So is it gonna let me change slides? Terrific. I'm going to jump to 2014 when the work I was producing centered around reflecting on the differences between the land of my birth, which is Australia, if you didn't know, and where I currently find myself. The installation 108 was exhibited at Gallery 108 in Roanoke, Virginia, and also in Maitland, Australia. The following was written at the time of production in 2014. 108 is considered a sacred number by many world religions. In the Buddhist tradition, 1 is everything, 0 is nothing, and 8 is infinity. To me, the number 108 is a reminder to be mindful. That is, everything we do, everything we think ripples through the world. Nothing we possess, money or objects, are as important as living and engaging with others in honesty and love. So creating mandalas is a way to visualize creative energy. And the process of making a mandala is to bring inner peace, to bring balance. And it's a form of meditation. As a legal immigrant to the United States, I often encounter cultural differences. These differences may be very subtle, or they may be significant. Regardless of the level of those differences, it really forces me to question my own cultural bias. And one really significant issue of difference between the land of my birth and the US is the ownership of firearms. And I just want to talk a little bit more about this ownership of firearms. According to Gallup Inc., gun owners of America are predominantly male, they're white, and they're aged between 50 and 64. And they live in the South. Now, that statistic doesn't really match what we often see on mainstream media, or what we often see in television shows or in Hollywood films, that many gun owners are represented as young African-American males ready to commit heinous crimes in heavily populated urban areas. So if the truth was represented in mainstream media, most gun owners we'd see them as being middle-aged men from the rural South. So why do these men own guns? Some of you might say, well, we know now, and it's to storm the Capitol when they don't agree with the results of elections. But many of them say it's to protect their family and property. And while others are hunters and they kill their own meat, which I totally understand and totally accept. At that time in 2014, I was single, I was white, always will be, and vegetarian. But now I'm not, I'm married, and I'm no longer a vegetarian. And I did marry a hunter. However, I find firearm ownerships totally unnecessary at best and downright scary in the worst case scenario. And that fear is exacerbated by the killings at Virginia Tech, where at that time in 2014, I was an associate professor in the School of Visual Arts. I have since retired. I took early retirement to pursue my art full time. So I do want to jump forward now to 2018 to talk about my work called Dis-Ease, and it was shown in a group show at A.I.R Gallery. And this piece was inspired by an exchange I had with a dear friend. Oops. Just let me see if I can play that video. Here we go. Please use the spoon rather than your fingers in the fruit salad, I said in a slightly agitated tone. You are such a germaphobe, she replied, as if it was totally normal to scoop food with an unwashed hand, lick her fingers, and double dip. The exchange has raised a number of questions for me. Is our level of hygiene culturally determined? What do pathogens look like and where do they come from? How are diseases spread? And can we protect ourselves from the threat of bacteria and viruses? The intention of the work was to help us perceive what is not visible, and in so doing, save a life. Dis-ease deconstructs the question of hygiene and infection via the lens of women's labor, namely embroidery. And this piece is called At Table, where I embroidered the different foodborne diseases and displayed on a plate. I was sort of sending the message to New York to wash your hands a year early. I think that's really interesting. I seek to develop a visual vocabulary that acknowledges women's contribution to society. I weave together high stitch density embroidery, technology, spirituality, and social practice. As I work, I see my mother's hands, and I'm indebted to her passion for craft and her willingness to pass on that passion for stitching to me. The Disease Embroidery series fostered a stronger social practice, and as I said earlier, Olin Hall Galleries has been really supportive of that effort by hosting workshops when we could meet in person and sponsoring this kit that I embroidered the COVID virus and we stitched it out and contained it in a Petri dish. And these kits were put together by Olin Hall Galleries and then distributed to the local community. Never have we been more aware of how our bodies are feeling. We ask ourselves, do I have a temperature? Is my throat sore? Can I still smell? They're common questions we've been asking ourselves over the past year of turmoil. Our minds can convince us of so many ways to be well in this world. Our mind is ordering us to rush, achieve, be better, work harder, and to compete for success. But what if we just be? What if we step back and just breathe? Life is an absolute wonder, and one that is over way too fast. Conversely, our bodies take their next breath without permission from the mind. The heart beats and the life cycle continues. The body has its own reasoning. I'm not reinforcing the tired old duality of the mind-body split, but instead advocating the concept of an integrated circuitry where energy flows without the dominance of insistent thought. Within Hinduism's early traditions, 7 colored spheres within our bodies, known as chakras, controlled our energy. With unblocked chakras, the flow becomes unimpeded, leading to better health and vitality. Through the process of meditation, I have envisaged many of these mandalas, which are embroidery and drawings, and I've just grouped the work according to the 7 sphere color scheme of the rainbow, of the work that I've produced during 2020. These are not all of them, but these are some of them. The chakras are flanked by nadis, or their channels of energy, and they operate like a magnetic pull. The nadis, Ida and Pingala, ascend and descend in a spiral pattern, causing the chakras rotation, while the Shashumana travels up the center. To some, these nadis are known as Kundalini energy, and I have represented some of that movement of energy in these small drawings here. So over the course of the year, I've spent much time producing the chakras, learning about them, in an effort to keep my energy flowing and keep myself vital and positive. And it's my intention to keep doing this type of work, but I actually want to take it into a 3-dimensional format, like I have done with the Stronger Together project that was produced for the Suffrage 100 show. I don't know if Jennifer and Ellen are with us, but thanks so much for organizing that show. It was really wonderful to be a part of that. So Stronger Together is a 3D embroidery piece that celebrates the 19th Amendment of 1920, giving women the right to vote. However, it wasn't until the passing of the Voting Rights Act in 1965 that gave women of colour in the South to be able to exercise this right without restrictions. I mean, that blows my mind. That's my lifetime. That's in my lifetime. So this artwork consists of a chorus line of 3 women's stockings of various colour. They embroidered with roses and embellished with glass beading. The work is attached to the wall with a metal ring, and it appears like a garter, and those garters are decorated with antique lace and sequins and beads, and they're weighted at the base with sockets that are decorated with vintage buttons. The toes are on point, which is a ballet term, and it's to represent as if they are rising from the floor. The legs are different colours to signify women's position towards their fellow women's rights. The white signifies a lack of interest, as they have typically been beneficiaries of their husbands' or their fathers' positions of wealth and power. The blue stocking refers to the educated woman's emancipation opinion, and the black representing women of colour who have struggled so long for civil rights. The use of the rose emotive evokes the Tennessee legislature's historical debate to ratify the 19th Amendment. Those who supported women's enfranchisement wore yellow roses. Anti-suffragists wore red roses, and the white roses on the black leg signify the injustice and the courage of women of colour who championed the suffrage cause without receiving the full benefit. As a white, cisgendered, heterosexual migrant woman living in the American South, now is the time to acknowledge the past and make changes to ensure a genuinely free, kinder, and equal America. Making these changes will not be easy, but we are stronger together. I'm going to jump back in time now to 2019, to my first solo exhibition at A.I.R, first solo exhibition in New York. It was so exciting. Machine memory and motherboards. The traditionally defined feminine skill of needlework is injected with the impossible precision of the computer and the speed of the machine. The embroideries and animations of stitching in machine memory and motherboards documents the development of computer chips, motherboards, and circuits. The stitching strategy highlights the contributions of women who have inspired, worked with, and invented technology. The work intends to question whose memories, whose data is privileged and preserved, also whose labour is acknowledged or whose is made redundant as we transition to an age of artificial intelligence. It's my intention over the next 12 months to couple the idea of intricate circuits with psychedelics. Michael Pollan, in his book, How to Change Your Mind, Psychedelics in Psychotherapy, suggests this connection. I'm also very interested in the resurgence of psychedelics, especially ketamine, in the treatment of depression. In conclusion, my work is to develop a visual vocabulary that validates women, pushing a feminist agenda that connects the labour of women to historical events and to contemporary society. I do this with practice-based research. I take every opportunity to harness my energy for healing and vitality, and to cultivate mental clarity through meditation with the intention of an enhanced state of awareness. I'm really looking to promote unity consciousness, and I firmly believe in what Darwin wrote, that we are in fact all netted together. We are in fact all one. You didn't want to do that.
Thank you so much, Simone.
And thank you. So that's the first snowman I ever built. So thank you. And I'll just end that show. And oh, okay, do I have to? I don't know whether I can stop sharing my screen. Oh yes, here I can. There you are. I'm back.
All right.
I thought I'd give you a quick little tour of the studio. So you've seen the little log cabin, so it's not huge. So I'm just going to rotate there. So this is out here. This is, you can see Fort Lewis through my window there. And I'll spin the other way. And this faces Catawba Mountain. And I've got a light back there. I'll just go and switch it on. I don't know whether that's made it better. And I have windows that go all the way across the front here. So that's my view as I work. So even though it's small, it's very productive, and I get a lot done. I have to keep it tidy though, otherwise it just falls into chaos. Does anybody have a question for me?
Yeah, I've muted everyone before during Simone's presentation. So if you have a question or anything you want to say, just unmute yourself and ask away.
I just wanted to thank you for such a great talk of your work, because I just saw that one little piece and we had some nice conversation about it. But I was the one next to you in the studio last year.
Oh,
you know,
I can't see who's asking me the question. Oh, is it you, Robin? I thought it was you.
I really appreciate the thoroughness of your thought process behind your work. I could see it, but I didn't, and we talked about it, but it was a lot clearer. So thank you for that. I didn't really have a question. I just want to have that comment.
Thank you, Robin. I appreciate that. It's I tend to over prepare because I get really quite anxious and nervous about presenting work, and I don't want to stutter and say hum a lot. So I've got to have everything written down.
I have a question or I don't know, comment. I really loved your work, and I saw the video of the germs at A.I.R Gallery a few years ago or 2 years ago, and it was one of my favorites. But it seems that your work is expanding over many media.
Mm-hmm.
And it struck me that your embroidery looks, as first look, looks like drawings. So I was wondering about your process. Do you start, do you make drawing first with colors and everything to reach to the final?
Yes, yes, I do. And I've always felt quite insecure about the drawings, actually making them part of the work. This piece, I'm going to see, I'm going to move the computer up a little closer because you addressed this question. And it's been right on my mind, Hen. So you really hit the nail on the head in terms of what I've been thinking about and how my artwork can actually grow. And this piece that you can see in part here is the connection between my drawing, and then I'm stitching over it and then incorporating quilting and the stitching with this piece, so that this fabric is actually drawings that I got made into fabric to create this quilt. Really, it's really a drawing quilt, and I call it From Negative to Positive Energy. And you can see the rotation on these little drawings here that represents working with a negative energy or maybe negative thoughts and then transforming them into positive ones. The work I've got up on my board at the moment, on the left-hand side, I have drawings and the embroidery process is starting. And over here, there's a drawing, the neon work, and then the finished piece of embroidery. And I got to say, I'm really happy to say that I don't have much work left because it's sold, which makes me really happy. Primarily because giving up academia was, a big financial, decision. But my life has become much more simple, and yeah, and I'm doing just fine.
Simone, could you point to those so that we understand what you're talking about? And are your drawings somewhat computer generated? You're very fast.
No, the drawings are done by hand. I'll just go and grab one and bring it up rather than trying to hold the computer. It's probably the best way. So, for example, this is the concept drawing for my next embroidery. And so I'm starting to work on silk, and that's just the centerpiece. That's just the actual chakra itself. And so underneath, on this big, beautiful piece of silk, I'm beginning to chart it out and put my hoop on, and we'll start embroidering that on my machine pretty soon.
So it's all hand embroidered?
No, they're machine embroidered.
Machine embroidered. So
they're machine embroidered to get the precision, and because they're such high density, yeah, it would take a lifetime to do one.
I know. I just did a little tiny embroidery for a gift, and all afternoon.
But using in academia, I used to teach creative technologies. So I've been working with the computer for a very long time. Animation and video. So it was great to be able to take my computer knowledge and then use that with stitching.
So you can actually go right from the computer to your machine?
Yes.
That's amazing.
So I design using a software called Floriani, which is a commercial software that commercial embroiderers use. And I have a brother machine, which is just right here. You can see my computerized machine right here.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. The only people who sell these machines close to me is in West Virginia. So I've been able to establish a really nice working community with women over in West Virginia. And I feel very privileged because, you know, I sound different, and they say that people from the mountains are, you know, are not welcoming to strangers, but they are. They so are. They've been very kind to me. I also play music, so I get to play with musicians in the area too. So that's great.
What's your instrument?
That's terrific.
Well, I trained as a harpist. I'm not a very good one, but I play ukulele most of the time when I play out. I'm in a band called Folked Up Foxes. It's pretty funny.
Wow.
Yeah, it's great. I'm the youngest person in the band, so that's good.
That's a great name.
That's great.
You know, I love the way, hi, my name is Zini. I'm a New York member. Nice to meet you. Wonderful
nice to meet
your
you.
studio and your work. And I love your concept of unity consciousness and the way you're exploring it in your work. And I see that you're sort of interested in kind of the chakras and nadis and Indian philosophy. And I'm wondering how long you've been interested in that and what you've been studying, and then how that mutated into your interest in psychedelics.
Okay. As my interest in chakras, and I just realized this just a couple of days ago, as a young woman, I was in a situation where I experienced domestic violence. And my mother naturally was very concerned about this, and she bought me a book on chakras. So that was the first time I'd ever heard of it. So this is my late 20s. But, you know, pursuing a life in academia, that interest that in mysticism, I'll call it that, fell away because it wasn't very accepted in academic circles. So since leaving the academy, I could go back and pursue those interests. In terms of psychedelics, I was the wild child, you know.
It happens.
Yeah, I was the wild child. I got kicked out of home at 18, and so you know, I played bass at that time, so I played in bands and experienced LSD. And
have you seen this movie Fabulous Fungi?
Yes, I have. Yeah,
it's really great.
Yeah. It's and I think there was so much research done on the potential of psychedelics in the 50s that were all squashed with the, you know, say no to drugs. So I think
scapegoating.
Yeah, and it was also used for recovering alcoholics. Well, it opens up doors of perception and circuitry, the detail of the circuitry and the patterns of circuitry. Just, you know, I do remember seeing patterns over everything, so I can, you know, make that connection between circuitry and psychedelics. And I'm interested in that, how energy is transferred, whether it's in machine systems or in human systems.
Well, it's interesting because the whole yogi nadis are basically considered electrical impulses in many ways, you know? I wonder, have you ever done the Biji mantra chanting thing?
I have done
You-
some chanting. I was doing Kundalini yoga
Yeah,
for a little
the
while.
BG
and-
mantras. Oh, go ahead. Finish talking. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's all right.
Hmm.
Yes, and I have done some chanting. But
Well-
my practice is not really disciplined. I'm really interested in the work of Joe Dispenza and Dr. Sue Morter. Yay, you're clapping. Yeah, I think Joe Dispenza is amazing, and also Anadia Judith.
I don't really know them, but
Yeah,
I think you would be interested because there are specific sounds connected to each chakra,
yes,
and they're supposed to create healing vibrations. I think because of your musical interest. It's real.
Yes,
I like the way you're interweaving these three systems: the sort of yogic Vedic system, the psychedelic investigations, and also the circuitry, the electronic circuitry, and sort of like looking at that in terms of like not only creating a unified vision of the world, but also sort of a neurogenesis, you know?
thank you for pulling that out. That's great. I'm really happy about that.
I'm glad.
Okay, I think we have time for one more question. I see Anne is ready to go. Anne Schaumburger.
Thank you. I just wanted to say, Simone, that the juxtaposition of the embroidery with the circuits is so interesting. The way electronics and the hand, it changes my thinking about the circuits. And they're very beautiful as well. Thank you for showing us them.
Thank you, Anne.
It looks like Marlana has something to say too. Can we do that?
Oh, Marlana, you're muted.
Is that good?
Yeah,
Yes.
we can hear you,
We
Marlana.
can hear you now.
Thank you. I'm a technophobe, so I'm going to show you something that I know about.
Rocks.
No, it's coral.
Coral. It's dead coral. Yeah, they're beautiful. Yeah.
It's the same circuitry though that you're talking about. So I was curious, do you explore interspecies communication? Have you thought about that at all? Or I see how it could just interwork with everything that you do. And I wanted to say I really thought your presentation was marvelous.
Thank you. Every day, well, most days, I walk in the woods here, and it's kind of a really special place. And I don't want to sound too off with the pixies, but I think I'm with like-minded people. I do hear the inhabitants, be it animal, be it generations past, or that residue of energy and the trees. And we have a small stream that I sit next to meditate, and I can see the lines of energy coming off the water. We drink water straight out of the mountain, and yeah, it's there. I've got goosebumps running through me. As a child, I spent more time with animals than with people, so I feel very connected to critters.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
To me, that brings up the difference between organic and
Inorganic.
well, I can't. When you look at what Marlana showed, the rocks, they can't be regular. They wouldn't be symmetrical. They would always be irregular and asymmetric. And what you're doing though on the computer, when you generate an image on the computer, it's very hard to do that. Very hard to. I mean, what you get with a mathematical model would be much more regular and much more mechanical. I think that brings up that conundrum for me, because an organic thing would never be regular.
Yvette, it's really interesting that you bring that up, because there was a period of time where I was getting frustrated with the embroideries, that they were too perfect. And the way I'm designing them now is to be evident of the hand, and I have to do the drawing first, and then when I'm designing the work, design with imperfections.
That's so interesting. So you can take what you've drawn and scan it and then make an embroidery out of it that way. Is that
I tend not to. I draw it out, I think of it, and then I draw on the computer again.
I see. So does it morph from your first drawing a little bit to the computer drawing?
Yes, yes, it does. There are some changes that can occur that, you know, maybe I'm not dexterous enough to do that part of the drawing, and when I like to be really open to the process, just be really open to the process, because, you know, you might have a vision in your mind, but if you're not open to the process, you kind of shut it down. You got to let that energy flow and just be open for the work to emerge itself. You know, let it emerge. I just want to be a conduit for it to come.
Okay, we have 2 minutes left. Does anyone have like a quick thing that they want to say? Oh, Anne Stoddard, I see. Yeah.
Hi, Anne.
I thought your presentation, I'm agreeing with everyone that it's just really special. And I'm also fascinated by how you incorporate digital with sewing with concepts. And so it's really, I'm just, you did that so well with the 2 years ago with the dis-ease, which of course, you know, feels very familiar to us now. Like you're what did you know we didn't know? Well, yeah, you knew a lot, right? So yeah. Okay, so I'm just thanking you and looking, hoping to get to see you sometime in the future.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Anne. Actually, I freaked out a little bit when the pandemic happened and New York was hit so hard, you know, that I thought, oh my gosh, I was telling people 12 months ago to wash your hands. So it made me pause, and also the gun work about, you know, who owns the gun and the storming of the Capitol. And I've just recently, you know, gone, wow, okay, I'm just going to take more notice of what I'm actually producing, because I think that maybe this chakra, this energy work is and this unity consciousness is really a way that our planet will survive and be able to move forward. I really feel that.
One more comment. What I'm trying to come back to, though, is how I thought you really communicated your concept so well with video. And I do video, so I'm just doing a shout out for that. So we also are, you know, guns, sewing.
Yes, yes.
Very obvious. We're thinking sister spirit, sisters in spirit. Okay, so thank you so much.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for coming to the studio visit. It is recorded, although I'm sure that, you know, you were here, you might not want the recording, but someone else might want to look at it. So I'll send the link in my follow-up email. And yeah, I think our next studio visit is with Ellen. I believe it's on April 9th, but again, I'll send a follow-up email to you all about it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you for organizing
you.
this. It's
Yeah,
really
of course.
great.
It's a pleasure.
So lovely
Thank
to
you.
see you
Yeah.
all.
It was great seeing all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Ann started. Nice to see you.
Great. Thank you. Great to see you too. And
I sent you an email, but it came back. Okay. Bye.
Okay. Bye.